Mic check, mic check. Make sure you guys can hear me. I know I'm a little bit late. I apologize for the delay, okay? Please don't hate me too much. This is the Lando show, man. We are Lando live right now. Bringing you guys sports below the surface to the real fans who deserve to hear it the most. That's what we do here. Always trying to remain as objective as we possibly can. And so with that acknowledgement, let's also go ahead and start the stream off, I think the best way that I know how. Obviously the Cowboys clap Cleveland. You saw the thumbnail, you clicked on it. That's why you're in here. Jay Hunter in the house. What's up, my man? I think before we get a little bit too crazy and ahead of ourselves, it's important to acknowledge that the Deshaun Watson that most people come to know 4 or 5 years ago is no longer the same Deshaun Watson. It just is what it is. 13 looks nasty, bro. Yeah, okay. So I'd also be remiss. Let me cut this music down so you guys can hear me extra clear when I say this. My Texas Longhorns look pretty good, y'all. Beat the absolute brakes off the reigning defending national champs. Beat them at their own game, quite frankly. So a very humble and excited hook 'em to my Horns for putting on a show on the scene of College Game Day in Ann Arbor, Michigan this past weekend in front of a national audience and God himself. Pretty fun weekend for me. So the reason I'm here late tonight, you know, at the very beginning before we get right into this, traveling all day yesterday, coming home from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Didn't have a chance to watch the All-22. Still haven't really finished it. I've taken a peek, skimmed through it a little bit, tried to catch up, but all day of travel yesterday kind of set me back just a hair. But we're getting this in. There's some things that we have to talk about, okay? Also, too, real quick, to certain subjects, certain topics for certain people can be sensitive, right? Certain positions in particular, okay? The quarterback position for the Dallas Cowboys, they got this one right. Okay, extending Dak Prescott was the right move. If you're one of the critics, the naysayers, the haters that disagrees with that, then I can only say this. DeMarvion Overshown, and thank you, Jake Hunter, for go ahead and let's just kick off the stream with that, because I'm going to share my screen with y'all so we can see it again. But you don't see people out pursue Micah Parsons to the football. I don't care who's carrying the ball. When both men are in the same relative position and they have an angle to make the play, you don't see players out pursue Micah Parsons. So let's just go ahead and take a peek here, because DeMarvion Overshown
like this tempo. They talked about it all offseason.
Looks.
Here's Watson.
I mean, he showed instantly that diagnoses that and is able to erase a potential
team in the NFL is going to convert third and longs at a high clip. Turning on opening day.
Watson underneath Njoku, and that is not going to get you much.
Just a heat-seeking missile, man. Here's the play.
Watson rolling away, looking for something. Nobody's open.
Deshaun Watson thought he had the corner.
And the Cowboys take over.
So much of this offense about getting back on track, and it's going to be
something. Nobody's open. Watson rolling away, looking for something. Nobody's open. He is decked. And the Cowboys take over.
So much of this offense about getting back on.
That closing speed, y'all, is insane to me. So, Brandon in the building. What's up, my man? if you've got, and today's discussion too, you saw the thumbnail as well, right? Lethal. Okay, the lethal combination of a team led by Dak Prescott on one side of the football, alongside Mike Zimmer, who brought something to the table that this fan base, this team hadn't seen in quite a while, which is blowing out an opponent without your offense carrying the load. We got my guy. Ray.
What up, boss man?
What's going on, man? Hey, you're live on the Lando show right now. Tell the people what's up.
Well, what's up, everybody? Y'all make sure y'all keep watching the Lando show. You know, their shows out there. Get all that sports content.
There we go. Hey, man, I'm live right now. I'm gonna just break a few things down. I got a couple talking points that have to be hit. Is it cool if I call you back here in like the next 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, you good?
Cool, man. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Got some exciting things in the works right there. That was my guy Ray Anderson. Some of y'all are probably familiar with who that is. And I actually lost my train of thought right there. So somebody pick me up here while we get back on track. The defense picking up the offense, right? You saw that was the number one defense in the league from a year ago. Okay, everybody was back. Yes, offensively, their bookend tackles were out, and that's a big L. Imagine the Cowboys playing, starting a game without Terrence Steele and Tyler Guyton, and you're running out Matt Willetsko and Chuma Edoga in place of those two guys. That's kind of a scary proposition, right? So it's very obvious what the hand that the Browns were dealt there in terms of just being able to execute offense in an efficient and timely manner, staying on schedule and ahead of the chains. But I think Deshaun Watson was pressured 36 times, something insane like that, out of his 47 dropbacks. It was wild. But so the thing that I really want to talk about is what we had touched on all offseason. Was how it wouldn't be difficult for this team to be better running the football and stopping the run than they were a year ago. Okay. And so far, that brings me to one of my concerns here. Okay. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. I do have not necessarily a concern. It's more of just a question mark at this point still. Okay. But they absolutely were much better stopping the run yesterday than they were a year ago. We didn't see, there wasn't really an instance last year where if the offense got off to a slow start or they weren't able to just provide points in an onslaught early or throughout the four quarters, this wasn't a team that could play from behind a year ago. But this year it seems as if they're going to be able to do that, right? DeMarvion Overshown flashed. Eric Kendricks flashed. Trayvon Diggs, I mean, that's not a dude that we used to say that would willingly trigger and get downhill and attack people in the run game. Be a willing tackler, fresh off an ACL. You saw that. You saw a rookie, Kalen Carson, go mano-a-mano with two former first-round draft picks at the receiver position, one of which is a multi-time All-Pro, and Amari Cooper. Yeah, he gave up a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy, but you can tell the body language, the energy, the enthusiasm, the swagger. That's a guy that's ready to compete, and he's confident in his ability. We heard about the rumblings of this kid who the Cowboys had a third-round grade on, got him in the fifth. I've called him the steal of the draft potentially this year. I want to see that verify itself. It's obviously too early to tell. But this team to me, if you give an all-pro quarterback, an MVP runner-up, with an offense that we know is going to come around, okay? The best, if you give him a top 10 defense in both categories, run defense and pass D, you have a lethal combination. And, you hear Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons talk about how we didn't even see anything. I mean, this we have to also consider, right? This is a relatively vanilla scheme from Zimmer, deploying his unit for the first time, okay? We were expecting, we knew, we talked about, we looked forward to seeing a defense, unlike Dan Quinn, that would simulate pressures. And if you're unfamiliar with that terminology, just picture Micah Parsons walking up in front of the center. Sometimes two guys, the double A gap pressures, right? Force communication and force the quarterback to see Micah Parsons staring at him just right across the A gap. That's psychological warfare right there, is what that is. Okay, me being, self-dubbed sports psychology guy because I dealt with it myself. I mean, that verified itself in real time on national television, right? Tom Brady's first call, Micah Parsons walks up, and this is a different instance I'm referring to here, but he walks up on the edge, and you see DeJuan Jones, flinches at the line of scrimmage, right? Because he knows, hey, I better be on it here. I can't be late, or else it's a wrap, right? So Mike Zimmer simulating pressures, using Micah as a chess piece all over the formation so that quality teams with equally as quality offensive coordinators, like the Niners, like the Packers, with Shanahan on the floor, can't eliminate Micah from the game plan or from the game because of having the ability, understanding exactly where he's going to be. Dan Quinn leaving him entrenched on one side of the line of scrimmage and eliminating him from the equation, okay? So Mike Zimmer, bringing him into the A-gap, using him all across the formation as a chess piece, not asking his defensive front to penetrate and get up the field. It's don't penetrate. We just want you to occupy. Hold your ground. Like the Cowboys defenses in the playoffs of years past under Dan Quinn were much easier to combo and climb because they would take themselves out of the play and out of their gap. Right? So if you're just instantly, if your whole objective on every snap is just to shoot upfield, as an offensive lineman, you just use that momentum, you get him out of the way, and guess what? You're climbing to the next level unimpeded. It's not the case now with Linval Joseph up front. You ain't going to see pass rush out of that dude. But guess what? When you got DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons combining for almost 20 pressures, Marshawn Nealon with 5 or 6 of his own, you don't need your interior players like Mozzie Smith to penetrate and shoot the gap and try to be a player that he wasn't in college. Mike Zimmer and D-line coach Jeff Zanina said, okay, how about we just let's let this dude develop and mature as a run stopper first. If he can do that, then we'll think about, incorporating some pass rush nuances. We don't need that right now. Okay. John Owning from PFF, Cowboys reporter from PFF, went on Skywalker Steele's morning show, A to Z Sports Dallas, and talked about some of the numbers, and I thought it was interesting, right? And it's noteworthy. The Cowboys, Mike Zimmer, once again, rolled coverages. If y'all don't understand what that is, that's another thing. I forgot to touch on this. I'm sorry, sometimes my brain just goes a million miles an hour because I get excited. You got to just bear with me. Zimmer, his scheme is difficult to deal with because he's asking the opposing quarterback to process a different post-snap picture than the one that he sees pre-snap, right? So in simplest terms, right? Teams break it down like middle field open, middle field closed, which is essentially middle field open is 2 high safeties. Middle field closed is 1 high safety. A lot changes based on that singular factor, okay? Because in a lot of cases, if you see one single high safety in the middle of the field pre-snap, it's a decent indication that you're going to get man coverage. But it also is more of a tell about the box, how heavy the box is. Rolling one safety down into the box gives you less of a numbers advantage in the running game. Okay, so it's tells for the quarterback, right? And the good quarterbacks can diagnose this and understand immediately what to do about it. Right? They can change the protection, slide it either direction. They can bring an H-back or a running back or even a slot receiver in to the backfield or across the formation to change the math on either side, right? Guys like Dak Prescott, that's why I teased at the beginning, extending him was the right decision, because quarterbacks, there's so much going on before you ever even get to the point to where they're actually being required to use their physical skill set. There's so much happening up here between the ears first that it's one of those positions where, one of the rare ones where it's seemingly limitless drop off in terms of your age, the age in which you can still be successful, is because so much of the game happens between the ears for the quarterback, right? So just being able to change the picture and make things more difficult, have the quarterback hold the ball a little bit longer than he otherwise would have, because he's all of a sudden he's seeing this middle field close before the snap, and then you're seeing another safety, like let's just call it Donovan Wilson. He's dropping back, and then it's all of a sudden 2 high safeties, or vice versa. But what John Owning said that Zimmer did is a way to sort of simplify the process, the understanding, the learning curve for the defense in year one of a brand new system, right? There's an acclimation period that must be accounted for and understood as a fan base. He simplified that and said, okay, we're pretty much going to play middle field closed for most of this game. But what he was doing, instead of changing the picture, it was still middle of the field closed, but he was just having a different safety rotate each time. So once again, changing the math on each side. Something simple. But then on top of that, instead of being just super exotic with the rolled coverages, what they did was they had 10% usage, the Cowboys defense this is, with 10% or more usage with 5 different coverages. Cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, and cover 6. Which is essentially quarter, half. So to one side of the field, you've got two high defenders defending one half. And then on the other side, you've got one high defender defending the other half. So just to see them, Deshaun Watson, y'all, he was running for his life all night, and the pressure was coming from everywhere. He had no idea what was happening in front of him. He was evading clean pockets. He was so shook. Saw him at least once or twice, like perfectly clean pocket. He's just getting out of there. It's like seeing ghosts. So, and we can't forget too that there's still a all-pro corner waiting in the works to come back and be added to this mix here. But the perimeter tackling was absolutely spectacular. The interior of the defense, Mozzie Smith included, holding their ground. Star up, man. It's that's a good offensive line, and I know they're without 2 of their starters, but the interior was still intact. Really, really excited to see what the potential of this defense can be when they actually fully understand and can unleash everything, right? Because that's one of my 2 concerns. That if you're in here from Twitter, you saw the Twitter link, you saw me mention 2 concerns. And one of those concerns is the running game. I didn't really see a ton to be encouraged by, just as far as their approach to it. And once again, that's another thing that is most certainly going to improve in theory over time, right? You're getting a couple different guys, rookies, get their feet wet a little bit. So how exotic are you actually being with your play calling? I don't know. That's one of my minor concerns. But the other one is if and when Zimmer really starts to unleash the full plethora of coverage packages and throw them at different quarterbacks and teams as he sees fit down the stretch, can we still maintain the same level of like gap integrity and just understanding of the run fits in particular? Okay, but then also coverage busts are another concern too. But me specifically, because of what Micah Parsons and company can provide with their ability to get to the quarterback, I'm more worried about the run defense, right? That's the lowest hanging fruit from a year ago. That's where they have to be better. And the two areas in which we knew that they had to improve if they wanted to have a chance to get to that next level in the postseason: running the football, stopping the run. They dang sure seem as if they're going to check one of those boxes for certain. So even if you do that, then that's still marginal improvement at minimum for what your team is going to be able to do, in not only in the regular season but in the postseason. Okay, so I'm just really excited to see, like, if Dak Prescott's not perfect, if he doesn't go out against the Packers and lead a touchdown drive on the opening series, and then his defense does give up a touchdown seemingly on every possession, right? But they do just get marched on. They're showing signs now already of having the ability to bow their neck a little bit and slow the game down. Buy their quarterback time, get a few stops until they find their rhythm. Because it is a chess match, right? They're feeling each other out. Just like the Cowboys did last year, their defense a year ago, they were predominantly cover one all year under Dan Quinn. No post-snap creativity, no rolled coverages, no changing of the picture, okay? What you see before the snap is what you're going to get as far as the coverage is concerned. All right, that makes it easier. It's an easy button. You're eliminating a contingency for the opponent. Ruse in the house, what's good? Jordan Lewis also, that's another name that I wrote down 4 times. Good call on that one, Z-Money. So this defense having the ability to get stops now, right? This Cowboys team just won a football game without their offense, which is the best in football over the last 4 or 5 years. Top 3 minimum. Last year it was number 1. If they're not clicking, the sky doesn't fall. So very, very encouraged from what I saw. And I'm going to go ahead and just play a little bit of this for y'all so you can kind of just, if you're watching, you want to look at something other than my ugly face, here you go. You're welcome. But I do owe Zeke an apology. For, I questioned, I wondered if, before the final 53 was announced, I wondered if Rico, Deuce, and Royce would get a fair shake, with the understanding that potential politics could be in play just because of the name brand of Zeke Elliott. Okay, but what does he do? Very first play of the game, he's out on the perimeter and he's like, hey, Cowboys Nation, those of y'all running your mouth, here's me hurdling a defender in 2024. So still a measly, I want to say it was something to the tune of like, I don't know, under 4 yards per carry, right? Or it might have been just over. It might have been 4.1. I still feel as if Rico Dowdle is the best ball carrier on this team. Now I could see the snap share and the touch percentage allocation for the three backs relative to each other in this game, right? Yeah, Z Money, Zeke on the very opening possession, the play. This might be the one right here where Zach Martin just absolutely got whipped. It's actually the next play, I think. When Dak almost got killed, Zeke absolutely stonewalled Myles Garrett. That's why you brought him back. I tweeted that out live too. I was like, this is one of the things that Zeke Elliott will always be elite at, regardless of the juice left in his legs. Right now, I still feel as if Rico probably brings you the most juice and the explosive play potential from the running back position. And I still think that Deuce is so unique and completely different from the other two that he still needs to touch the football more. But that's one of the concerns. Like I said, they're going to have to figure out ways to be more creative in the running game. And, they don't have who's the offensive analyst they signed. Somebody in the chat help me out here because his name slips my mind. But they signed kind of a younger dude, more of an offensive minded guy from Boston College to sort of help them out with some of the run game creativity that they obviously lacked last year. Somebody in the chat put his name in there for me, please. That, once again, in theory, should help, right? Last year they dealt with Jeff Zanina being out for 6 weeks. Personal leave of absence definitely didn't help. And then getting all 11 on the same page in a brand new offense once again. So there's less time to really hone in on specific nuances within your ability to move the football. What's the low-hanging fruit? How do we fix it? Okay, they were more concerned with language, understanding of, just the West Coast offense in general. I guess nobody's going to pull that up for me, so I'll go ahead and do it for myself real quick and get back on track. But oh, man. What? I want to say it was Boston College, right? Was it not? Yeah, Boston College offensive coordinator. Yeah, Steve Shimko. There we go. Steve Shimko. Anyway. Yeah, Ruse says multiple folks are high on overzone this week. They are late to the party. Yeah, sure. And once again, it's still early. But to me, he showed the ability. There was a play. I may have sent it to myself on Twitter here. Let's see if I did. Where you see him follow the pulling guard and just hold his gap and maintain outside leverage, right? He set the edge. He just triggered immediately once he saw that pulling offensive lineman heading right to the outside gap, to the C gap. And he hits it, he stacks, and then he maintains the edge, and he makes the play. Yeah, it's actually, I don't think I sent it to myself, but that's all right. You guys can find it. You can look it up and see it for yourself if you want to. But with that, obligatory shout out to Al Harris for the DBs, the secondary, continuing to just year after year, man after man, just roll out, just churning out studs. Not only in coverage, but in with their ability to tackle, right? And that was one of the things that flashed. Like Jordan Lewis, man. I know y'all saw this play. Effort and toughness out of Jordan Lewis. And once again, I wrote his name down 4 times. This is a just watch this. Look at that. And old 19 thinks he did the job, right? But he didn't. J. Lou attacks, drives him back, and prevents the ball carrier from getting to the edge, right? He turned. They had that blocked up. If J. Lou doesn't drive him backwards, Elijah Moore doesn't have to backpedal and change direction to avoid J. Lou taking that blocker directly into the path of the ball carrier. And then just look at everybody else. There's 6 white jerseys right there. That's just effort, guys. And that's Mike Zimmer, the Mike Zimmer effect. 30 years in the league. Look at Kalen Carson. And that's another thing, too, that deserves being mentioned, right? Just put number 21 on his back with the historical relevance of this franchise, not the least of which Deion Sanders and Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, that's high praise and high expectation. So that should tell you something. Same thing with Marshawn Nealon, number 94, historical relevance. I mean, look at Micah. Golly, just so fast off the edge, man. Is this, y'all ain't even seeing this, are you? There you go. Apologies. Watch J-Lu. Just completely resetting the point of attack, man. This is a nickel corner, outmatched or outweighed by probably 25 pounds, 4 or 5 inches. Look at him. Look at J-Lu, man. You got your number 3 corner, who really might be your number 2, and that's a different discussion. But the dude has just completely revamped his career, man, and, you know, he's probably going to have another payday. He keeps playing like this, but all camp long, you heard, this is the mentality that he was playing with. Killing people, just absolutely getting after him. And look at him, he's letting this dude know. That's the energy that this team lacked, okay? And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with Mike Zimmer. I know that DeMarvion Overshown played with that fire at Texas because I covered him. I watched him his entire career in the burnt orange. Look at Malik Hooker just flying downhill. And then you've got DeMarcus Lawrence coming over from the interior. So he was lined up as at a 3-tech there. Obvious passing situation, 3rd and long. Right? He's in the mix to make the tackle. Just watch the pursuit, guys. I mean, I'll keep this on loop 100 times if I have to. This is insane. I mean, just absolutely dogging people. Pun intended. So if that's the effort that we get all season long, and this is still the early stages as far as understanding and nuance to the Mike Zimmer defense that is going to confuse the opposing quarterback a lot more often, make things more difficult, require him to hold the football and second guess, stutter a little bit, pump fake, be hesitant. You can't hesitate when you got Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence lurking, and now Marshawn Nealon, it looks like. 5-6 pressures in his own right, all right? I mean, and you've got 2 blanket defenders out there before you even acknowledge Kalen Carson and Jordan Lewis. 2 guys who in 2 of the last 3 years have led the league in interceptions from their position. I mean, the pieces are in place, man, and they've got the coordinator now who understands that you don't have to be, you can be the aggressor as far as making the offense think a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have to be a reactionary position, just defense in general. And that was the excitement with Mike Zimmer. Okay, you got Linval Joseph up front helping speed up the learning curve from all the interior players, probably some of the edge players too, just as far as run fits and what's expected of you on a down-to-down basis and just understanding of the scheme. All right, Eric Kendricks, the quarterback of the defense, helping with communication and growth, development, and maturity from a room now that is crazy to say from a year ago, given the state of the position, but looks like may be one of, if not the deepest unit, or deepest units on the entire roster. DB absolutely is number 1, but linebacker, I'm telling you, man, if DeMarvion Overshown can, if we see what we saw out of him in terms of the ability to cover, the ability to trigger downhill, and the ability to understand and diagnose his run fits and to maintain setting the edge, right, while being occupied by a blocker. This team didn't have a guy like that last year down the stretch. They didn't. And that's not breaking news. You guys should understand that by now. All right. So just very, very encouraged overall. People, I don't know what the pulse of the fan base is as far as the offense's performance, right? But it should be obvious to you that points were going to be difficult to come by in this game. This is a defense that started 5 quarterbacks last year. Their team the Browns started 5 different quarterbacks last year and still made it to the playoffs because their defense was that good, shutting people down. So if Mozzie Smith comes along and he adds himself to the party alongside Jordan Phillips, Linval Joseph, Oso Digizua, you're cooking with gas, man. You are cooking with gas. What else are we missing here? Yeah, Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons both said y'all haven't seen anything yet regarding Mike Zimmer's defense. Should be exciting. Because what we saw in week 1 was total domination. So if that's not anything, then I can't wait to see what comes next. Back to the All-22 so y'all can see something different. What else do we got? Already touched on Zeke. I was wrong about him. I owe him an apology. Still remains to be seen if he can maintain that level of burst throughout the season. I still think that's a guy you put on ice as often as you can. Right? I understand the snap share and the allocation of touches in this game relative to what you were jogging out there with 2 rookies on the offensive line opposing the reigning defending defensive player of the year. I get it. He's the extension of the offensive line. Sure. I'm cool with that. But I don't want to see him dominating touches. Seeing what I saw out of him and him changing my opinion on him wasn't enough to say, okay, I want him leading the backfield. It's enough for me to say, okay, we actually have more depth than I thought we did. I knew Rico was a serviceable NFL player and probably a very underrated one. But if we can get that Zeke that we saw, blitz pickup, catching the football, and then being able to pick up and convert short downs and distances while not leading the team in carries on a week-to-week basis, you have something. Deuce Vaughn getting in where he fits in. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Cooper Beebe. A guy that, hadn't ever played the center position before, really, and he goes out there against a defense of that caliber, the best defense in the league a year ago, and no sacks, no pressures. I think was the second highest graded rookie offensive lineman in the league. So, I mean, you already know how I feel about Tyler Guyton. I told you in the pregame live that he was ready. That Myles Garrett would probably get his, maybe 1 sack, which he did. But that it wouldn't be enough because of the way that Tyler Guyton is wired and the physical tools that he has to pair with that right there. It was going to be enough that it wouldn't, to the point of that to where it wouldn't wreck the game for you. But if He might have been the fourth most impressive rookie on the field that day. And he's the one that I have the highest expectations for. But now if Cooper Beebe can continue moving people at the rate that he did, at the level that he did, or at least just showing just the IQ, man, he's not going to get beat. He's not going to get knocked back. If they can figure out how to get more creative, just comboing people and controlling A gap and getting downhill this way, this team is going to be a contender. And yes, I'm talking about the game that y'all would like for me to be talking about. So the update on Ferguson. Good point. Thank you, Z Money, because I actually didn't have that written down as far as the discussion topic. He has a minor MCL sprain and a knee contusion. His words on Twitter were that God is good. He, seemed in good spirits, right? Dak said we dodged a bullet. Patrick Nosey Walker reported after the game he wasn't really limping at all. He wasn't under the aid of crutches or in a walking boot, right? Or in a wheelchair. He was walking under his own power. He had a nice bag, ace wrapped to the outside of his knee, and in perfectly good spirits. So I would imagine, like if you look, a quick Google will tell you that an MCL sprain, regardless of the severity, is at least a 2-week injury. I know Todd Archer left the window open for him to potentially play this week. I would be actually very surprised if he played this week against the Saints. But the only news that matters is that he's going to be fine, and it's probably just a couple weeks at most, maybe 3 weeks. I did want to play this for those who hadn't seen it yet because it's very important and it's still relatively a hot topic, given we're still just a few days removed from the extension of Dak. But if you hadn't seen this, just hear me out. Oh, here's the stats on BB. Let me pull this up for y'all. Knew I had it in there somewhere. See, I told you I'm smarter than I look. 30-13 on Cooper Beebe. Boom. Never played a single snap as a center in college. He still won the Cowboys starting job in preseason and gave up 0 pressures and to the Browns defense in week 1. And this is him in the offseason just trying to figure out how to get more comfortable snapping the football out of the gun with his mom. I know y'all have seen that before. It shouldn't be new, but man, it's just thinking about what this team can be now that if they can win games, even when their offense isn't able to be as proficient as they are going to be for most of the season. They couldn't do that last year. So it's exciting to know that they are potentially going to have a team that can stop the run in the postseason and help their quarterback out. Here's further context for you. 36 pass blocking snaps from Cooper Beebe in this game against the number 1 defense in the league a year ago, who pretty much brought everybody back. No sacks, no pressures. So shout out to Beebe on that one. John Owning with some more interesting nuggets here. Looks like the Cowboys are going to continue to assault defenses with CeeDee Lamb in the slot. 30 snaps from the slot and just 15 out wide versus Cleveland. So he doubled his slot snap percentage, which he absolutely should. Also noteworthy from myself, I had this, I guess, tweeted out live during the game. I forgot that I did that, but I don't hate Hunter Lipke at all taking on Fergie's role in the passing game. So it looked to me live, and I touched on this earlier today as well, that he was doing a lot of the Jake Ferguson things once Jake was forced to exit the game. And I, for one, am perfectly okay with that. Just watching what he was able to do as a weapon in college, man, that's a guy that knows how to play some football. It's a football player. So if he's tight end 2 in the passing game with John Stevens out. You know, I like to see it. I would like to see it. Let's get to some other points before we get out of here. I know I got something I'm forgetting. Get some stuff off my chest, man. Much easier to combo and climb versus DQ defense. Yep, covered that. 25% rolled coverages, but 10% or more in 5 different coverages. Touched on that. He was showing, yep, touched on that. The defense actually won us a game. Oh, man. What a time to be alive, y'all. Oh, Mozzie Smith, I touched on him earlier too, but noticeably quicker off the ball. I was keying in on him on some of the film study early on. Only saw 5 run defense snaps. You know, the Browns were playing with a deficit for almost the entire game, so it's obvious as to why. But man, he's firing off the ball much quicker this year, y'all. So that's very encouraging. Encouraged by Mozzie Smith, without question. What else we got? All right, let's get to the Aaron Rodgers. Notebooks and number 2 pencils. Please and thank you. Gotta ask nicely because people get their feelings hurt lately these days. Here we go. This is a video that I made, I don't know, back in 2023 at some point. I don't remember when. I trimmed it up just a little bit to make it more palatable.
Talk
Here we go.
about Dak because he's become one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. Brady had some comments about some of the mediocrity in the game. Dak is not who he was talking about.
Okay.
For a number of reasons. He's really playing the position. What I mean by that is I'm watching him make Ringo calls. So that's protection adjustments against these crazy looks and picking things up. I'm watching him, bring the tight end back in against zero pressure and throw an old concept we used to run for a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb in the back of the end zone. I'm watching him use his cadence beautifully and get into this rhythmic, here we go, into like dummy, using it as a dummy sometimes. I just want to say, like, he's playing the position in a really impressive way. And for whatever reason, maybe because he's the Cowboys quarterback and it's one of those premier positions in sports, he might take a little more than he deserves. But I love the way he's playing, and I love the way he's playing, like really playing. I'm not talking about just like, making good throws. I'm talking about, like, it seems more where the guys are actually really playing the position, where you're making adjustments, you're handling everything line of scrimmage. Now you're doing this crazy cadence stuff. Like, I love it. And I just want to shout out Dak for, like, really impressing me. Multiple times.
Hey, Dak, he doesn't hear that a lot.
No, he doesn't.
Doesn't get to hear that a lot. Way to go, Dak. Here we go.
The reason I'm highlighting this again is I feel like it's still a concept that most people can't seem to comprehend, just based on a lot of the interactions that I'm seeing on the social media streets still. I'm so sick of biting my tongue when I see our own fan base regurgitating the same clickbait bullshit that they see on Fake Take TV. And the problem I have is that those fans, most of the time, have no idea how misled and misinformed they are by those actors that they see on TV. The people from those major sports networks don't care about telling you the truth. They're selling you clicks and views, and that's it. Because ultimately, failure is what sells. They can't fathom. Y'all get it. Y'all get it. You get it. Back on track. What do we got here, y'all? What am I forgetting? What else? What are other talking points that y'all want to hit on before we bounce? Yeah, definitely gonna need him versus the Ravens. Absolutely. That's where you'll see Demo shine. With you being a big Texas fan, did you see this kind of play from him in college? I saw a guy that was a little bit light as a linebacker, like knowing the Cowboys drafted him to play that role. Now, he's not. He was a converted safety in college. I saw a dude that could pursue and would hit with the best of them. was a willing tackler. He packs a punch. I saw a willing tackler, a guy that really had a great feel for angles and being able to just slip out or just not get blocked, right? He has an amazing knack for that. What I didn't know if we were going to see a guy that could stack, take on blocks, and not just get completely eliminated from the play, get blown 5 yards back. Could he play downhill in the NFL? And could he cover a little bit if he's not asked to move forward? Moving backward was a question for me. Demo in coverage. And also, like I said, taking on blocks and just kind of being able to process and understand run fits. So far, it's check on every account from what we saw in game one. Now we'll see how that continues to progress for him, but I'm excited for it. This dude is a rookie playing like that, noticeably jumping off the screen on a defense that features multiple All-Pros, including arguably the best defensive player in the league, Micah Parsons. And Demo is the guy that's jumping off the screen. Okay, I don't have to say anything other than that to get you to understand the ceiling that we're potentially looking at here with this kid. Man, here's one right here. Pesky Citizen, you're starting to be one of my favorite streamers, bro. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that very much. Means a lot. Thank you. I'll be heading to Dallas tomorrow morning. We got Crosstalk with Ray Anderson and Ray Ray's podcast on YouTube. He's got a studio up there, so I'll be joining, I believe, Boss Cowboy and Law Nation tomorrow for Crosstalk. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Keep an eye out. I believe 10 a.m. is the rough approximate stream time. Did you see anyone or any position that didn't do well? So I kind of touched on this earlier, and it's not necessarily like a concern for me, but it's just a question right now. I didn't really see an offensive line in sync, right? It just looks like everything just kind of, you just see dudes displaced. See a lot of guys on the ground at times, right? Inexplicably almost in the run game. Just really nowhere to go. Like there's no creativity. I don't really see, and we can pull the film back up here to take a closer look, right? We'll talk some things through if we have to, but I don't really see an offense like, so you got Mike McCarthy, old school dude, Brian Schottenheimer, old school dude, Mike Solari, offensive line coach, old school guy, right? All three of these guys they've been around for a long time. Now, Shotty's obviously the youngest of the three, but even he is still, he's a West Coast system guy. So I remember a key talking point for me down the stretch last season was marry the run game to the passing game, meaning the Cowboys were one of the highest pre-snap motion percentage teams throughout the season last year in totality. But you didn't see the same sort of leverage created and advantage, the easy buttons that you could click. Shout out to Skywalker Steel for that reference. The easy buttons weren't being clicked in the run game. We were just going gun, stagnant, and then handing the ball off. It was just like halfback draw up the A-gap when you couldn't control A-gap because you had a guy that was incapable of pushing people, Tyler Biadasz. Not incapable necessarily, but against quality DTs who were more power players and not finesse players. Like guys that occupy space and don't move. Like the guys that are in our division. He would struggle to move people. So that it's not a concern, but it is something that will hold this team back in the postseason if they can't figure out how to be different than they were a year ago with their approach to running the football, the how to running the football. Because if you like I said, if everybody wants the Cowboys to go out and sign a running back. Oh, I just thought of another thing that we have to talk about. I love when I have good ideas. Let me write this down. Also, tell your friends. Extending Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb creates cap space. It doesn't eat it up. One of the first comments I saw after the news of Dak's extension broke was that, oh, great, they're not going to be able to pay Micah Parsons now. That's how I feel about that. Activate Dalvin Cook. May I ask why? Z-Money? Dalvin Cook to me is an insurance policy for Zeke Elliott. That's it. He's on the practice squad for a reason right now. I don't see that changing anytime soon. What's up, Mike Filio in the house? How you doing, man? He says, I know that guy. Let's go, Lando. Hey. See the horns. Team's for real, man. They are for real. Anybody with a set of eyes can see that the confidence that Texas jogged out of that tunnel with. Coach Sark has built a real juggernaut. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that. Saturday was not a fluke. Bigger, faster, stronger, or bigger, faster, deeper than the reigning defending national champion. But the one component that most people gave Texas no shot at being, as far as a leg up in that matchup, was more physical. And they were very clearly the more physical football team in that game. Sark made a statement, and he put the e-brake on. Otherwise, that score would have been 52-10 as opposed to 31-12. Had third stringers in for half the second half. Most of it, actually. Love Boston Law. Yes, sir. Yeah, so we'll be I don't know if I was supposed to release that. If I'm not, y'all didn't hear that from me, but Ray already, he called us earlier in the middle of the stream, so I think the cat's out of the bag there. But yeah, we'll be putting our heads together tomorrow, talking some of these things through. Yeah, Kenneth Guy gets it. It was pretty impressive. The moment is not too big for them boys. Texas is legit. That's the thing, man. I talked in the preview that I did on Instagram. Partnered up with Inside Texas. You know, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, if you're a Texas fan and you're not subscribed to Inside Texas, then you're not as big of a Texas fan as you think you are. Texas brought back 43 players from a team a year ago that walked in to Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and handed Nick Saban his largest home deficit in his entire tenure with the dynasty Alabama Crimson Tide. And then the reports, like I'm telling you, like this wasn't a surprise for me. It wasn't a surprise for Inside Texas. Sark came out and flat out told you Quinn Ewers, who consistently performs in the biggest matchups, are Quinn's best games, dating back to his freshman year at Texas when he marched, I think he was 12 of 13 in the first quarter against Alabama, 140-something yards and a touchdown. The most passing yards ever surrendered by a Nick Saban coached defense in the first quarter of football. And Quinn was a freshman. So the moment dang sure ain't too big for him, right? But then the coaching staff is littered with Nick Saban disciples, right? You've got Sark, you've got Kyle Flood, you got Jeff Banks. the 3 highest paid coaches on the roster are all philosophically aligned and come from the same exact tree. The root, the cause, the mastermind of the best college football program ever. They know how well-structured college football programs are built. And they understand what wins at that level. And it's dominating the trenches. And that's what Texas is doing now. That's what Sark did. That's been the difference. Okay? It's 2021 when he first took the job. They couldn't even field and showcase an actual orange and white spring game because they didn't have enough scholarship offensive linemen on the roster to have 2 separate teams, orange and white. They had 9 scholarship offensive linemen on the team at the time. 4-year stretch. I had a project about this 3 years ago as well. 2018 to 2021, no team in the Big 12 had fewer offensive linemen signed and brought into the program than Texas did. And they were tied with KU, actually, for an average of less than 3 scholarship offensive linemen signed in each recruiting class over that 4-year stretch. The best teams in the country, the Georgias, the Alabamas, even at the time, the Clemsons of the world, the Oklahomas even, are bringing in minimum of 4, but oftentimes 5 or 6. Texas was averaging less than 3. So anyway, I'll hop off the podium with my Texas talk. I know y'all are here for a different reason, so I don't want to bore y'all to death with that. But yeah, hey, y'all want to talk about contracts? I'm passionate about that subject too, man. I'm telling you. That actually brings me to my next point. I don't want to forget this, so I'm gonna say this right now, and then I'll get to your comment there, Brandon, and we'll continue. But the Cowboys, you guys may or may not have seen, created $4.5 million of cap space today by restructuring the contract of Terrence Steele. So that should tell you 2 things, okay? Number one, it should tell you that they feel pretty good about the trajectory that Terrence Steele is on. Once again, playing much better football now, 2 years removed from an ACL injury. And number 2, it tells you that they may or may not be done shopping either in free agency or in the trade market, adding to their roster. You know why? Because the Joneses know what I know and what most of y'all should know if you've been paying attention. And it's that this team is very, very well built, well structured, talent-wise, top to bottom. But also the number 2 seed in the NFC from a year ago is better and more well structured for a deep playoff run this year than they were last year. Okay, the Joneses wouldn't be adding in veteran defensive tackles if they didn't believe that. Trading for one, signing another. But those are both things that we predicted on this channel, on this platform, or my various social media platforms months in advance. Same thing with Eric Kendricks. You just got to connect dots, guys. It's not difficult, okay? And if you can't or are unwilling to do so, then follow someone who will. And you're in the right place if that's you, if that's what you aspire for. You know what? I'm just gonna search it. Cowboys Network right here. I'm not really too familiar with their work, but shout out to them. Want to make sure they get the credit that they deserve. Cowboys have reworked right tackle Terrence Steele's contract, opening up $4.5 million in salary cap space. And by the way, he adds this caveat too at the end. Okay, perfect. Added up with the extensions of Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb's contracts this year to the money that will most likely be carried over to 2025. So Dak and CD's extensions combined, I want to say, freed up 20. No, it was. I thought it was over $30 million in space. Let's look it up. I want to be accurate here. You guys are here for the truth. Sports below the surface, baby. Sometimes we learn on the fly here. That's what we do. Roll with the punches. There you go. So Martin Talk Cowboys. That's my guy right there. He's been in the chat here before. He's one of the regulars. Shout out to Martin. Assuming this is accurate, which I have no reason to believe that it's not. Where'd it go? The Cowboys get $26.9 million in cap space after the extensions of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. There you go. Some people thought I was crazy when I was saying that back in June, July, whatever it was. Cap space. Yeah, I don't have time to look for it, and you guys don't either. But anyway, what else we got before we get out of here? It's been a little bit. What is going on there? Yeah, so good point, Kenneth. I mean, and that's the thing, man. So that's what I try to get people to listen, man. There's only so much I can do, but everybody just wants to say, "Oh, Texas is back," right? There's, like I said, there's only so much I can do. I can put all the facts in front of you, do all the work, spend hours producing a project that's objective and honest. But some people can't see past their bias. They're too dense. And that's true. The talking point was, oh, well, Texas has top 5 recruiting classes every year, and they still went 5-7. Actually, factually correct. It is. They did have top 5 recruiting classes under Tom Herman and Charlie Strong, and they did go 5-7. And they did lose to KU twice in that tenure. But what they didn't do was build up front. Y'all ever thought about, I've talked about this before too, you ever thought about there are literally an abundance, infinite amounts of small, fast athletes. They're everywhere. Every school. You can go from D3, D2, D1, JUCO, NAIA, does not matter. There's sub 4.4 guys on the field, period. Every single school has one, or two, or multiple. But you know what the difference is at every level that you go up in football? It's the speed and athleticism paired with the size on the offensive line and the defensive line significantly increases. In high school, you got offensive linemen that look like, they're smaller than their quarterback. Okay? In college, the lower levels of college, it's like, your center is going to be 240 pounds. That's a middle linebacker in the NFL. Okay, the number of big guys who are also freaky athletic and gifted. Very, very, very small. You just don't see them. Okay, Texas can go out and sign the 5 best athletes in the country if they want to. But if they don't build up front the way that they have under Kyle Flood, one of the best, if not the best offensive line coaches in the country. Once again, a Nick Saban disciple. Guy makes $1 million every year. And that's the whole point of this ties into the Cowboys situation. You can have the number 1 passing offense in the league. But guess what? if that guaranteed you playoff wins, then Tua Tagovailoa would have at least a Super Bowl appearance. Dak Prescott would have at least 1 or 2 Super Bowl appearances. And I could continue on down the list. Justin Herbert, his rookie year, would have had a Super Bowl appearance. You have to be able to win up front at the highest levels of football. The Cowboys couldn't in either direction, offense or defense, last year. All right. But it's somehow the quarterback's fault. Is he innocent? No. But fake take television has us brainwashed as a fan base. And when I say us, I damn sure don't mean me. Anybody in here that's familiar with me, Vach Lombardi, Will Steele, Jeff Kavanaugh, Foots the King, CFO, CFT, your guy Nix, Okoye Media, my guy Chris from Cowboys Beat. Surely I'm missing at least 1 or 2. Boss Cowboy, Law Nation. There are resources out there that do the work, and that'll tell you the truth if you're willing to find it. Thank you for being here. To those who are new, who are watching this, hit that like button for me, man. That's all I ask. Obviously subscribe too if you feel called, if you're liking this content, if it's presented in an informative and entertaining manner. And it's only going to get better. Still kind of, we took it easy on the audio mixer. It's a little bit late tonight. My bandwidth is running low. It's been a long day. But hit that subscribe button, man, and tell a friend, because chances are, if you're a fan of this content, then you know at least one other person in your life, in your inner circle of people, that also would enjoy it and appreciate it as well. But I know where I'm headed. The trajectory is, and I can say it with confidence because I know that I do the work, and I know that I'm prepared, and I know that, I'm figuring some things out, and I'm studying all the time, and I'm learning, I'm paying attention, and I'm watching other people who are successful in this industry succeed. And I'm just, for lack of a better term, following their lead, but I'm doing it my way. And it's working. Started praying about this a few months ago when I was like, look, I feel like I'm kind of at a crossroads right now. I'm trying to be too many different things. I want to be the best father, best dad, best father, best husband, best content producer, stay in shape for my kids, and build a golf business. It's like, man, I don't know if I can do all this. Something's got to give, right? So what I did was I gave the wheel to the man upstairs, started praying about it, and things have taken a turn for the better lately. So I know I'm doing what I'm called to do, and I think those of you who are willing to give me just a couple minutes of your day, you guys are realizing the same thing. And I really do appreciate that. I really do. I don't think I have anything else. Speak now or forever hold your peace, y'all, in the chat. I'm going to get out of here because I got another long day tomorrow. An exciting day, but a long one. So I need to get some Z's, man. Catch some Z's, get some sleep. Cowboys are 1-0. They dominated a football game and won in blowout fashion against a playoff opponent from a year ago, the number 1 defense in football, without their offense even bringing so much as 50% of the success to the table. Years past, last year, that wasn't the case, right? You had a one-dimensional defense that depended solely upon your quarterback and your offense to get them a lead so that they could do the only thing that they were good at, which is penetrate and hunt the quarterback in the passing game. Likewise, Kenneth and Russell. Thank y'all. Y'all want 10 more minutes? We got 10 more minutes? What are we thinking? Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, so on that front, Mike, I will say that it seems as if maybe today there was a sign that I'll be getting my breakthrough, but we'll see. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything yet. I'm not going to announce it yet. I want to make sure that it goes through, but some things are coming. Big things are coming. I'm really excited for what the future brings. I'm excited for this team. Man. What else, man? Hold on. There's something in the back of my head that I know that I wanted to touch on, and I can't figure out what it was. Let me get y'all some background music while I figure this out. Because I keep wanting to sign off, and I'm like, I can't. I know there's something that I'm supposed to say. What's this? No, I don't like that one. Let's keep it classic. What do we say, boys and girls? I'm gonna find this right now, and y'all are maybe somebody's gonna put a question in the chat that's gonna help me jog my memory too. Nash, you missed my Texas rant, bro. Went off on a tangent a little bit ago. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. I know you're doing well because our team is freaking. Whew. It's happening. You too, man. What any questions you got before we get out of here? I'm trying to buy some time real quick before I get off. I know there's something I'm forgetting to touch on. Yeah, actually, question for the panel. Todd Archer's tweet we talked about a minute ago, restructuring the contract to Terrence Steele, signals that not only do they like the prospects of what he's going to potentially continue becoming again, up 2 years removed from his injury. What does this signal to you? Who are they after? Another pass rusher, another running back maybe. And on that same note, actually, there is one other thing that I know for sure we need to touch on. And it's this right here. Well, maybe I can't find it. Maybe I can. Remember when Jerry Jones said that here we go. Bingo.
I've seen teams win the Super Bowl.
If you're a Cowboys fan, can y'all hear that? No, you can't. Let me share it. Share screen. Boom. You guys might like this. Either curious, confused, or concerned about Zeke. If you're a Cowboys fan that's either curious, confused, or concerned about Zeke, Jerry Jones has a message for you.
I've seen teams win the Super Bowl with running backs that they traded for in mid-season. So the point is that this thing's a long way from being over as to how you're going to line up against X next.
The point is, actually, Jerry, that we should never take your word for anything more than a grain of salt, because, and it's honestly, that's it's out of respect for the master salesman that you are, right? You don't have the most valuable sports franchise in the world if you're not a master marketer. Okay, so this is amidst all the headlines that were stolen by Cowboys fans and critics alike who were skeptical at best, critical, right, of the reacquisition of Zeke Elliott. Okay, so Jerry has to sell it. And he sold it by saying this.
We hit on this during my live yesterday, but on the next video that you see on my channel, we're transcribing everything because it is explosive and there's a lot more to talk about. Things like Jerry admitting he was a liar, just like I predicted. Jerry, Steven, and Mike all subtly throwing shade at the previous regime. Why physicality, albeit incredibly important, probably won't be the most important trait from this 2024 class. And also a little heart-to-heart about Deuce Vaughn. That and actually quite a bit more is coming your way. Oh yeah, and just one last thing for Black Rifle Coffee. If you guys are looking for a sport...
Yeah, we don't have to hear that. No free shout-outs here. Sorry, BRRC. Sorry about you, baby. No free shout-outs here. Oh, all right. So, yeah, I took my victory lap on Deuce Vaughn. And if you guys saw my timeline that day when I did, the day after he made the 53, I apologize. But just know that I wasn't apologizing to those who needed to hear it. And I wasn't sorry about anybody that was going to unfollow me just because of the freaking petty spree that I went on. I got so much crap for saying that Deuce Vaughn was a competent NFL football player, that Deuce Vaughn belongs on this team, that he deserves more touches, that he will continue to improve as a player. I laid out everything as to why that was going to be the case. And, man, you would have thought that, yeah, I kicked somebody's dog or their baby or something. People got upset at me, but that's okay. That's all good. So, best special teams in the league, or is it too soon to say that? Hey, Mr. Aubrey? The fact that Mike McCarthy even considered for a second, he hesitated on sending him back out there for a 71-yard field goal attempt. Hold on. Shout out to Brandon Aubrey. Dude, can you imagine if he would have hit that? And by the way, the first one, 60. What was the first one? 66. That to me looked like it was good by at least another yard or two. Yeah, Jerry Ben's the truth, no doubt. No doubt. Who else? You know what? Let me see if I can pull up the notes. I'm going to read y'all my notes real quick that I took live because I know maybe that's where I'm forgetting to say something. Y'all just bear with me, man. I know y'all love me. Let me get a fire emoji in the chat real quick for Brandon Aubrey. Hey, here we go. Here's my notes. There we are, back. Yeah, Kevontae Turpin. Shout out to Turp for finally getting the monkey off of his back for a meaningful point. I guess, was it 3 years ago? 3 preseasons ago now. First one officially that counts, that goes in the record books. So shout out to Kevontae Turpin. That's pretty cool. But I got Micah absolutely relentless in the A gap. Once again, Mike Zimmer's scheme. Just making the center think, right? Making the offense have to communicate. Making the quarterback just sped up. Get him sped up a little bit. Seeing one of the best pass rushers, if not the best. Actually, he is the best pass rusher in football. He's not the best edge in the league. That's Myles Garrett, but best pass rusher in the game. lined up right there in A gap in the middle of the field where I want him more often than not. Absolutely relentless. Demo flashed early, stopped a would-be catch and run on an Njoku reception. Dak missed a wide open Cooks on third down. That was kind of a yikes. I was like, whoa, that's uncharacteristic of him. But those are the things. The passing game, like offensive scoring, touchdowns in general, league wide, are way, 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 way down in week 1 relative to years past. So, the reason why is quarterbacks and offenses and teams are just protecting their star players. So less guys now are playing less and less snaps in the preseason, and so you're just seeing a little bit more of that learning curve, or not learning curve necessarily, but just finding the rhythm. Right, it's taken longer than years past, but we all know the offense is going to be just fine as long as 4 is upright. Izzy got a holding call that negated a good return. Zeke's absolutely stonewalling Myles Garrett in pass pro. That was the play that Dak almost died when Zach Martin got whipped by Dalvin Tomlinson. And then on an ensuing play, I want to say it was the same drive, Tyler Guyton got whipped by Myles Garrett, but that was the only play where it was like blatant, where Tyler Guyton got beat and put the quarterback at risk in harm's way. Fantastic job, all things considered. It's a super tough assignment for your first time in the league, getting your feet wet. But once again, knowing how he's wired, man, ain't worried about that dude whatsoever. Jordan Lewis, textbook open field tackle on third down on Njoku. Zeke flashing burst and then capitalizing in the end zone. Another note that needs to be talked about too, in terms of my apology to Zeke, right? The pad level that he plays with in this league is second to none. It's crazy. Watching the leverage that Zeke has when he hits the hole, and particularly when he's hunting the goal line, is wild. I was wondering, I kept seeing that, Nash, like you were responding to questions that were from like a little bit further back. I was like, I wonder what's wrong with the delay. That makes sense. No, it's all good, brother. It's all good. These pooters be scheming against us, huh? It's laptops, man. Mind of their own sometimes. Daggum pooters. Jordan Lewis, again, 4 minutes left in the second quarter, fought through a block and kept contained. That's the highlight I showed y'all up there earlier. We got... I wrote down Deshaun Watson. See, there I go, talking about Deshaun Elliott again, Nash. See that? My Texas brain is tough to turn off right now. Deshaun Watson telegraphing his throws, and then Micah absolutely game-breaking. That was one where Micah sort of... I don't know if he knew what play was coming before the ball was snapped, but he kind of just stopped and then read Deshaun's eyes, and he timed it up perfectly, and he jumped, and he got the deflection at the line of scrimmage. And then I wrote down Kalen Carson playing with so much swag. Malik Hooker trying to kill people 2 different occasions. Just absolutely head hunting. Once again, Al Harris, shouts out to him, getting these guys just downhill, man, from the secondary. It's fun to watch. Tackling in space, solid as a rock. Just that dude is one of the unsung heroes of this franchise. No question about it. Can't say DeMarvin Overshown's name enough. I can't wait to just see him repeat that, dude. We that was rookie of the year caliber play, and it's obviously way too early to talk about that. And I shouldn't even be mentioning it, but that's the level that we saw from him. And I know he can't win rookie of the year. He's a year 2 player, but still, his first time playing real football in this league. Here we go. In the second half, right, there was 2 consecutive possessions where Cowboys offense comes out taking deep shots. One of them was a deep shot. The other one was, I forget, the second pass play on first down in consecutive drives to start the second half. But, you got a big lead. I forget what the lead was at halftime. It was ugly, but you come out throwing it and you go 3 and out, and you give a team, the home team, mind you, just a little bit, some semblance of confidence to start that second half again. I don't necessarily love that. I always like putting the ball in the hands of your best player on offense, and I get why there's some things that have to be sorted out just in terms of rhythm and things like that. You're trying to see what works, and you're working on things for future reference. Okay, I get that, but for me, I'm more about, like, when you smell blood in the water, let's go for the kill. Don't give them any reason to luck their way back into the game from a tipped ball at the line of scrimmage and an interception and a return for 6, or ball goes through a receiver's hands and he tips it up and it's a deflection right into a defender's hand. Like, just, there's so many different things that can go wrong. Your quarterback drops back, Myles Garrett on the opposing line of scrimmage, like, hunting you. I just, to me, all things considered, in week 1, I didn't love the approach coming out of halftime, just throwing the ball all over the yard like they did. Low percentage throws too. That was just one of my nitpicky things that I wrote down that I forgot about. Yeah, outside of that though, man, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if I got much else to say, but I do love y'all. And as always, man, Thursday we'll be previewing, maybe Friday, we'll see. I'm trying to figure out which days I want to go live for the preview of the upcoming matchup. And we will be a little bit more prepared this time. Like I said, traveling all day yesterday. I've been way behind. I've been trying to play catch up from a full day of travel with 2 babies under 2. It's always an eventful time. But Thursday or Friday, we'll see. Most people are busy doing stuff, partying on the weekends when Friday comes around. So maybe Thursday is the best time to do it if I have to be on late. So, yeah, we'll preview the Saints, man. This ain't your father's Saints either, by the way. The Saints of recent years past, they're going to be a test, a tougher test for this defense, this Cowboys defense, than the Browns were, for sure, without question. Clint Kubiak coming over from the Shanahan scheme in San Fran. He's going to have some stuff for us in the running game. And, that's one of the kryptonites of the Dan Quinn defense. So we'll see how the Mike Zimmer scheme, which I know is going to fare much better against the Shanahan scheme, just because of his record against it with lesser personnel and his tenure in Minnesota. I know it's going to be better, okay? But a tougher test, and we'll see how this defense stacks up with more competent quarterback play and a better passing scheme altogether, married with a solid run scheme as well. So anyway, Thursday or Friday, y'all be on the lookout. I don't know, but turn the notification bell on. That way you don't miss it either way, if it's a surprise live or if I have to go do something a little bit different, or if some breaking news happens or whatever, you wanna know when I'm on, just turn that notification bell on for me. And yeah, you guys won't miss anything. So with that, prayer changes things, y'all. And the war's already won. I love you.